Good afternoon, YouTube. Hardball Crazy come back with video. Today is just a one quick one card mail day video. This player has been on my want list for about I don't know, a year or so. Um, as you may or may not know, my baseball card collection kind of represents baseball history, not necessarily just Hall of Famers, but players who had an impact in baseball history. And you cannot write baseball history out the New York Yankees, of course, and I don't think you can write New York Yankees history without having this player mentioned. At least as a footnote, he was a player, but as you can see in the video, he wasn't a very good hitter. Who am I talking about? Player affectionately known in the baseball world as Stick, Mr. Gene Michael. He was the starting shortstop for the Yankees from the late 60s and the mid 70s. Some down years for the Yankee history. He's a slick fielder, not so good hitter, hence 229 career batting average. He bounced around after leaving the Yankees with a couple teams. Became a manager early 80s with the Yankees, 81, 82, two different stints. Decent manager, of course, but back in the day with George Steinbrenner as the owner, he hired and fired managers pretty much on a yearly basis. They pretty much average a yearly every year he had a new manager, and Michael was no exception. Billy Martin, most notably, he was hired and fired 5 times. Gene Michael here was hired and fired twice. He had a pretty decent record as a Yankee manager. He was known to keep pretty precise notes on his players, sort of like a precursor to the analytics and for game strategies. At one point, him and Steinbrenner had a public little spat, and Michael pretty much said to Steinbrenner publicly, "Go ahead, just fire me." He was fired by the end of the year. After leaving the Yankees, he was a manager. He was a Cubs manager for a little bit, briefly 80s. But by the time 90s rolls around, Steinbrenner was suspended for baseball, and for other reasons I don't want to get into. And when he got back into baseball, he lost his daily control of the franchise. And Gene Michael by then was the general manager of the Yankees, which allowed him to have free reign on the players acquisition. And Gene Michael was able to sign or drafted the core 4 plus Bernie Williams, traded for Paul O'Neill, and amongst other players, and he was able to just let them develop as players, and led to their little dynasty in the late 90s and early 2000s. And Gene Michael was the architect of those teams, even though he wasn't really around as a GM by the time they won the championships. Like I said, he allowed the Yankees to develop these young players to become championship level players. If you don't know, back in the 80s, Steinbrenner would trade away the young prospects, and for the quick fixes, at the major league level, 3 examples top of my head. The Yankees once had Jay Buhner, traded away the Seattle Mariners for DH first baseman Ken Phelps. Yeah, if you're a Seinfeld fan, you know all about that. 2 other notes: newly inducted Fred McGriff was originally a Yankee farmhand. They traded away to the Blue Jays for veteran pitcher Dale Murray. Who? Yep. And they once had Willie McGee as part of their farm system before, and they traded to the Cardinals for, I believe, pitcher Bob Sykes. That didn't work out well either. But Gene Michael was able to draft, trade, build, and let them develop into star players. Became the architect of the dynasty of the late 90s of the New York Yankees. So I had to add him to my collection. 72 tops. I wanted his rookie cards, like a 66 tops with the Dodgers, so he could dual player cards, a really ugly card. So I went for the next best one. I wanted him as a Yankee to begin with. And so I picked this card up. This 72 tops high number. I don't know if I can focus on this or not. And this is probably my fifth, sixth, seventh, I don't know, somewhere in there, 72 tops high number. So I had to add those. So this is a stellar card. Example for this card, even though it's a bit off-centered, which is a lot of these cards from this set and that era are known for. But proud to add this card to my collection, and I'm proud to have this card in this condition in my collection. And like I said, you can't write baseball history without the Yankees, and can't really write about Yankee history without at least mentioning this gentleman's name. Gene Michael, Stick, is added to my PC, and proud of it. Thank you for watching, and all good. Have a good afternoon and evening.